Yeah, no, there's obviously no favoritism or treatment. So we're not only one player, we want one position.
He can't be serious, right? What's going on, everybody? Justin with this Justin Sports here. I'm breaking down a video today of Shawn Hochuli talking about refereeing in the NFL towards the Chiefs. But before we get too much further, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell notification to be notified to all videos here. Make sure you share this channel with some sports fans that you know, help the channel grow, and, come hang out. But let's jump right into it. For the past couple years, the Chiefs have been accused of getting favorable calls. This has happened the past few years, and it really started gaining steam last season. There were a lot of missed calls and phantom calls that were made for the Chiefs throughout the entire season, and this led to some, complaints of bias. It really came to a head in the playoffs when they played both the Texans and the Bills. Very bad missed calls that ended up, making people question if the refereeing is on the up and up. Now, Shawn Hochuli was the referee in that Bills game, and we're going to jump into what he did wrong here in a second. But he came out at Houston Texans training camp and said,
you treat all players the same regarding safety fouls. You treat all quarterbacks the same regarding roughing the passer.
Bullshit.
Anybody with the ball as a sliding player, whether it's a quarterback or not. So I would just say that I don't have anything other than, we're going to treat all players the same.
I don't believe you.
Run.
What?
Now, it's a difficult game from a rule standpoint, from the defensive side of the ball, things like contact and that type of nature. But I will say that these players in my 12 years is exceptional at adapting to the rule change, whether it's roughing the passer or legal contact. These are unbelievable athletes that do unbelievable things, and they've adapted, so I can credit them for that. But yeah, no, there's obviously no favoritism or treatment. So we're not only one player, we want one position.
You said no, the lie detector test determined that was a lie.
now I get he's not going to come out and say, yeah, we messed up. We have been calling things one way over the other. He's obviously not going to say that. But let's live in reality for 5 seconds here. It is blatantly obvious that the calls are favoring the Chiefs, hands down. Every player is not treated the same. And look, I'm not blaming the Chiefs. This is not on the Chiefs whatsoever. They're out there playing every single game. Where my issue comes in is Chiefs fans who are sitting there saying this isn't happening when for 10 years before this, all we did was hear Chiefs fans complain that the Patriots get favorable calls. It either is happening or it's not. So it can't go, oh, it happened with the Patriots, but it's not happening with us, despite evidence to the contrary, multiple penalties, showing your favoritism. Like, let's live in reality for 5 seconds. And again, I'm not saying that, the Chiefs are the only team this has happened to. I mentioned the Patriots, and yeah, during the Tom Brady, Bill Belichick years, they got favorable calls too. And with Tom Brady chasing the amount of rings he had, they definitely got favorable calls throughout their entire time with Tom Brady. It's undeniable. The Chiefs have now entered into that arena as well. They have one of the most marketable quarterbacks in the league, a head coach everybody likes, and the elephant in the room, which we also can't deny, they have one of the most famous pop stars in the world attending their games. Now let's just look at this objectively as a business owner in the NFL. As the NFL, you want the most eyes on your product at all times. You're a business. You're the most wealthy sports league in the world. There's no such thing as too much money for them. Having somebody like Taylor Swift who can bridge that gap between fans and non-fans is huge for the NFL and a huge marketing opportunity to market your game to people who normally would not care about football in Taylor Swift fans. And you can't deny that's happening. The amount of Swift jerseys I've seen with Travis's number on them is a lot. Yes, I live in Kansas City, but my point is just that is happening. As the NFL, as a business owner, you would want the Chiefs to make it as far as possible, including the Super Bowl. It's not insane to theorize the NFL wants the Chiefs to be in the playoffs longer due to Taylor Swift being in the stands. And let's be honest, Travis probably only has maybe a year or two left, especially after last season. So this is really, their window to try to attract those fans and convert them to long-term fans. It's not insane to say, hey, refs, a little less close, let some things go. That's not an insane theory to have, especially when you look at the business aspect of this. The amount of money they made in merchandise from the second that Taylor and Travis got together is a lot. It's a lot of money. And all that would be well and good, tinfoil hats and everything, but the problem is there's evidence proving this. And again, the NFL can say, we've done an internal investigation. We found no issues. Yeah, I'm not going to believe that. That's the equivalent of some company saying we audited ourselves and we did nothing wrong. Like, you're not going to believe an internal investigation. You can see it with your own eyes. You can see play after play after play after play where the Chiefs either get a call or not a call. A prime example happened in the regular season. First, it was between the Chiefs and the Falcons with this no call on Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts was hit very early. You can see that the ball did not touch his hands yet. That should be defensive pass interference, but it wasn't called. Then, a few weeks later, the Bengals hit a player early and they called that pass interference. That's where the issues are coming in, the inconsistency of calling. It's showing that the problem is within the officiating of the league. There are no full-time referees, and that's an issue. There's zero reason why these guys shouldn't be in there getting better, watching tape, doing things like that, but instead, it is this that is causing inconsistency in officiating, which is causing rigging allegations. And it's not even just calls that are missed, it's things that they allow the Chiefs to do. There's an instance of Steve Spagnuolo calling a timeout when the head coach is supposed to be the one calling timeout, but they still blew the whistle anyway. That shouldn't have been allowed. There's another instance where the ball boy gets the referee's attention. Yes, the ball boy didn't call timeout, but the ball boy and the chain gang, you're not supposed to communicate with anybody outside of the team you're working with. So the fact that the ball boy is getting the referee's attention should be penalized in one way or another. There's no reason that kid should be even communicating to anybody. But again, they allow it. There's the instance where Patrick Mahomes' helmet literally broke. Granted, it's due to the cold, but you got hit in the head. Something broke. Something happened that never happened before to the point where it was a talking point. And you didn't get him out for a concussion check for 5 seconds? Any other quarterback in the league, that kid would have been taken out. But Mahomes gets allowed to go back in without a check. That's where the inconsistencies come in, and people are, have a right to say, hey, this is messed up. Let's not even begin to mention their offensive lineman who literally takes a step before the snap. Now, the Bills have done this. I've seen it with them. The Ravens have done this. So again, it shouldn't be allowed in any way, shape, or form, and it should be a penalty and corrected. This rule should be changed. There's no reason that the lineman should have a step ahead of the defensive end. Zero. That takes away literally all the leverage on the defensive end. All of it. When the lineman is a step ahead, there's no way for the defensive end to get around quicker. He loses that ability. But again, they allow it to happen, and it's not helping the situation. The other major issue is that they're saying they're treating every single player the same, and that is not true. Look at some of these hits. No call. Sam Darnold getting hit. No call. This face mask, no call. This holding penalty, no call. You are not treating players equally, and you can see it with your own eyes. And look, I'm not saying that the Chiefs didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl, but let's be honest with ourselves. The amount of no calls that happened or favorable calls that happened are affecting this legacy. And again, it's not the Chiefs' fault. I am not blaming the Chiefs. I'm not blaming Chiefs fans. This is 100% on the NFL and officiating for this to even become a problem. But it would be nice if the NFL actually took accountability. If he would have came out and said, look, we've messed up some calls. We need to become more universal and call things correctly. I understand why fans have this issue. Football's a fast game. You could realistically throw a flag on any play. Any play at all, you could throw a flag because somebody's committing a penalty, and you don't want to do that because it's going to affect the game. I understand that. But when you're calling it one way over the other and you're going, there's nothing to see here, it's going to create this issue and make people question the NFL. Plain and simple, period. And you know this is going to happen again this season because the Chiefs are actually looking better than they did last year, with Rice coming back, possibly a suspension, Xavier Worthy coming back. Mahomes is looking better. They all look like they're going to be a better team than they were last year, and that's frightening. But the second a call goes their way or a questionable call doesn't, happen, the allegations are going to start right up again. The NFL needs to get in front of this and correct it. They need to correct it with the referees. Anyone going out there and saying anyone who thinks the NFL is rigged is, ridiculous. That's not going to diffuse the situation. And Shawn's comments are only going to push that further because, again, there's zero accountability being taken. Zero. Absolutely none. And that's the biggest issue, is that's what fans are looking for. They don't want to see these bullshit calls anymore. We want to have good football. There are missed calls in every single game, absolutely. But it's the fact that everything kept falling the Chiefs' way. There is no statistical probability that, the Chiefs get all of these calls going their way and not the other. It's not possible. There could be a penalty, like I said, on every single NFL down, but it only goes one way. It only goes in the Chiefs' direction. The last time I remember the Chiefs losing a game on a bad call was the Kadarius Toney touchdown that literally got called back because he lined up offsides. And Mahomes lost it. He literally lost it, faking getting held back like he was actually going to do something to the ref. That's also what's really irritating. You know what I mean? Like, you know that guy who's not going to do shit, but he's pretending that he's going to do something to have people hold him back to look more intense? It's ridiculous. Anyway, then people bashed players who are saying, oh, the refs were against us, but yet look at what Mahomes did here. Shaking Josh Allen's hand, he's complaining about the officiating. Like, that's classless. I'm sorry, that's classless. My hope is that the NFL gets their officiating, together this year and makes it so that this can finally be put to rest. We can start seeing improvements, but that's only going to happen once they make the refs full time. It is. They need to be in there. The NFL is such a fast game. High school to college is one thing. It's a much faster game. College to the NFL is a completely different beast. So I understand why calls are missed. The game is so fast, especially from field level. But that's not an excuse, especially with the technology we have. And they're trying to, make changes with the chain gang, everything like that. And even people are saying that Josh Allen would have been short, but there's no way to tell because it still requires human error. There's zero reason why we can't have a drone hovering over where the ball is. Like a little one. It doesn't need to be huge, just a little drone that hovers over where the ball is at all times, and you can see exactly where it is. There's no reason that the Red Bull soapbox derbies can do this, but the NFL can't. I don't know why the NFL is so reluctant to implement new technology right now. They've been slowly implementing different things. But this is literally something that is so simple that they could do immediately and it would solve all the problems. They already have the sky cam. Why can't you have a drone just a little bit higher above it that won't interfere with anything? But they don't do that. So you got to ask yourself why. But that's just what I think, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to be releasing my first fantasy episode this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that if you play fantasy football. And if not, guys, well then until the next one, have a good one.